Hello, welcome to another interactive video where I play my fake keyboard here while someone out there whatever you want to play along with or sing along with. I already kind of have a pretty upbeat one, but just so you know, this particular interactive video, I already put it in the title, but just going to talk about relationship shit and divorce, but especially between two neurodivergent people who've lived a very varied life. Got married in 2007, a month before smartphones came out. That's kind of weird, right? To be a millennial whose marriage is older than smartphones. I don't know. That's just weird. Weird to me. So much in the world has changed so much faster than it used to on a regular basis. Not complaining. Kind of like the changes. Well, not all of them. But only the changes that go backwards, right? Those aren't good changes. Those are, fuck, we've already done this before. Why did I work all those jobs? Why did I do all of those nonprofit things? If nothing was going to work, I could have spent my time doing creative things. Could have spent my time doing literally anything else. Now I'm sitting here at 38 years old, playing a fake piano that you can't hear, because only I can. And I'm just assuming that someone else on the internet sees it and goes, no, I can hear the song. I can hear it, and I can play it with my hands, because I can't. I've definitely tried. I've definitely gone there. Tried all kinds of instruments. I can get, okay. But just never flows through me like that. Never has. Maybe one day, right? It's part of practice. This is perhaps a precursor to my future. Had a rebirth situation, so I'm kind of just speed running through different things in my life to try to break out of some old Akashic record contracts of sorts. Feel like William Shatner right now, right? Why are most of the musicians I listen to generally men? No complaints. Guster's amazing. Best band ever, but I don't know. We're all in sort of a divine feminine space globally. Oh, moving into it more and more each day. I do actually have hope for the future, if you can believe it. I think it's just because when you've lived the kind of life that I have, I don't know, I'm at a point where I just don't really care. I do. I care about everything a little bit too much. That's why I have to be so careful with what I take in. Gotta be really mindful with the news, right? Really mindful with what I allow on my screens. But I'm the one who gets to choose, so. I don't know that other people my age recognize that level of autonomy they have. They've forgotten how to be any level of hopeful. And no wonder. All they're doing is focusing on the people they don't want to talk about. Don't want to do anything with. Yeah. So hey there, how you doing today? I'm doing okay. But you're getting this 3 weeks after I make it, or later. That's what is fun about YouTube. I make something when I'm inspired to, and I put it out based on just what's the next day I could put this out. That is the method of my playing. I'm just playing here, creating something, cause I have it in me and I want to just sing out my life problems, cause they're not really problems. They were just lessons and opportunities to understand myself a little differently. Different capacities for perspectives. That's a little bit what we all do to ourselves. Time and time again, we give ourselves a chance to have different capacities for perspectives. That's what happens when something just goes into your life. giving you a chance to just take a break, take a minute, take a breath and see, is this where you want to keep going? Is this the thing that you want to be doing? And so what I'm going to be talking about is my relationship with my husband. About, well, like 2 months ago, we had a blowing up of things, 'cause about 3 months ago, I went into another trans-channel state for a couple of days when we went back down to Richmond. Husband freaked out the first day 'cause it had been a long day and I was in trance state, but not like the other times so much, but it was a trance state day. I didn't know it, I didn't realize I'd walked into a trance state kind of experience. Had to do it again, was stuck on some sort of trauma loop. We call it other things like flashbacks. Well, it's a lived experience flashback, 'cause we are constantly creating our reality, the experiences that we have. And I needed to go back to that hospital where I'd already had some surgery. Apparently had to go back and do something there. Really didn't like the experience, but hey, now it's in the past and it's a memory. I have worked it out of the trauma loops for me. Who knows if the trans channel thing might happen again? My conscious choice says fuck that, but you never know what you're gonna get when you step into your awakening, and still trying to live my life. Ooh, it's been a life and I just have more things to do with it. Don't need to be some sort of spiritual guru person. That's not a real thing for me going forward. I'm just living my life full of experiences that have a lot of pain and strife with them. So in the weeks that followed, all of those old arguments of, why did you take me there? We had conversations about it. We had plans. We said, please don't take us back to a hospital. They don't understand the concept of channeling in trance states. They just look at me and say, she's fucking crazy. Lock her in the psych ward. That's what they say. 'Cause they take one look at me and don't care about the other things that are happening. I gave them other symptoms, they didn't care. They never care when they look at me. If you had a patient come in who was just singing like I am, you would probably say, hey, she's fucking crazy, throw her in the psych ward. That's what they do to me, they just throw me in the psych ward. And hopefully now he understands. Please just give me some water, leave me in bed. Body's got it, so do the guides. But after that, it brought up all of our crap, right? And well, there are just some things that you experience when you have DID. Not everybody in here was on the same level about what relationships meant to us, right? Plenty of them wanted a divorce for years. Didn't like that there was so much on our plate all the time. He didn't know, we didn't know we had DID, and we didn't know, he didn't know he had ADHD. You just have a couple of people who have a lot of shifting things, and inside us we always said, well, we are the problem, right? Everything in our marriage, everything wrong in this marriage is just our fault, right? We're the weird ones, we're the ones who constantly have things that are changing. That wasn't really true or fair, and it always made us the ones to take on the blame of things. But here's the thing about ADHD in a marriage. If you don't do some work on your shit, you're kind of a problem in your marriage. It's just a way of existing that needs compromises. is that needs understanding and just needs a little bit of help, a little bit of, hey, you don't see yourself at all. 'Cause it's a place where your brain is now hyper-focused on something, and you always promise to do something, and then you forget, right? At least if you are the inattentive type of ADHD. It caused problems for us, and obviously, 'cause not everybody in here was even straight or wanted to be in a marriage. Plenty of us also wanted to be out of the state of our torture. Didn't want to be in Virginia. Didn't like that we had to see people that we wanted to just be fucking done with, right? And it caused a lot of strife, lots of conversations over the years that said, I just want to be done with this place. I don't want to be here, and I don't know that I want to be in this marriage. I feel like all I do is just feel like shit all the time, because we are sometimes in sync and sometimes we're really not. It was really stressful. Getting the DID diagnosis was helpful. It put things into context, and then a couple of years after that, it hit us like a train. Oh my god, dude, you have ADHD. He went and got tested. Cost like fucking $3,000 to do that shit, but he got the medications that help him a lot. He doesn't really need them when he's not doing things like a corporate job. When he's had a break, he hasn't needed things like his meds. But the more things he has to do that involve stupid shit like daily meetings, 2 or 3 hours of daily fucking meetings. He's a software engineer. What the fuck do you need him in those stupid meetings for, right? She said, knowing that this could get him fired. To be honest, I would fucking love that, because it would light a fire under him to do something about it. He'd have to do the things like applying to places he doesn't want to work. Or maybe we would be at that place where bad shit happens, then something really cool does that makes it like, oh, thank God that happened, right? But let's talk about the divorce. We never really got there in a serious way for years. It was just something that would come out of Marva all the time. Not all the time, but she just wasn't feeling fulfilled. She saw how Patricia and Randy were in love, and when she fronted, she could feel the remnants of that like an echo of, oh man, I can feel how you love him, god damn it. I don't even like men like that. I want a woman in my life. I want to know what it feels like to be with a woman. Feels like it's just right? Understandable. We got married so young. Grabbing one person for everything and everyone without realizing it was for everyone. And honestly can say that inattentive type ADHD brain was pretty good for the DID. Honestly, the capacity to hyperfocus and let things go when they're not right in front of you was kind of a godsend for our relationship. It is probably how we worked so well for so long, and we would just talk about it. He would always listen, and he finally understood. Oh, I am sorry that I understand, I don't agree. He always said he loved everybody equally, but well, that wasn't Marva's opinion based on what she saw, even though a lot of it was definitely projection. She just didn't feel the love Patricia felt for him. She couldn't really access it. It was just kind of hard. It was a little bit like when your sister gets the guy you love, and you're also married to him, and you're like, What do I do with this? I want my freedom. I want to just be somewhere that's not here, where I don't have to run into bitches like my mom, right? That was what she wanted, and as a protector type, kind of makes sense, right? Well, here's the thing, even though Marva's not in this body anymore, she still had all of those feelings about divorce. So they all came up after the recent trip to the hospital, after channel state stuff, 'cause we're not turning off the channeling. I'm not turning it off. This is what I do. This is how I kind of exist now. Might not be a long-term thing, but it's pretty fun. And it's the way that I keep all of my internal family attached inside. I use channeling to connect with them, to get things like these songs out in rhyme. I just hit play on those inner intercoms that come from the packages from my former internal family. Still have to deal with their shit though, even though they're other-sided. There's still shit in the body that you have to deal with, even if mentally you have already. You have to deal with it, you gotta deal with it, even if you think you're done. So all those feelings came out in the weeks afterwards, 'cause when something bad happens and you have trauma, it opens up all of the trauma stuff in your orbit. Your attention goes there, and then just all of it comes on out. It's like a freight train. It's not just one thing, it is always all of your shit that comes out, so you have to deal with it. Oh, 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 oh. Okay. I recommend you just kind of keep playing, if you want to. But yeah, I am just going to talk a little bit about it. So things happened. Wasn't particularly fun. Don't really appreciate that on day 1 of a trance channel. I think he'd waited till day 5 for all the rest of them, but on day freaking 1, because we were in Richmond, I think he was panicked about how long things would take, and he was just panicked. He got into a panic state, and then forgot every conversation we'd ever had, every promise he'd made, I had a thing like legally put together, and then it's fine. Just remember that those pieces of paper that you put together for people to remember to, pull up and show doctors, medical power of attorneys and stuff. You just got to remember that the person who's taking you to the hospital has to remember that that's a thing. And in the heat of the moment of trauma and travel days and just, already being so central nervous system all the time because still hasn't healed from the previous trauma. And then, just shit happens, right? Right. Important to be compassionate for your co-life person. But obviously not feeling particularly happy about my wishes that I put into legal documentation and notarized weren't followed, right? Especially after full discussions were had. And so a lot of really old patterned fight stuff came out for a couple weeks. And where we really got to was just this big feeling internally of just, I have to play this out, of basically, I call a lot of the things I do a speed run, because they kind of are. Earlier this year, 10 weeks of a book incubator program, I speed ran being a writer. And in that time, literally published 2 books. So proud of myself. Wrote so many more, wrote a bunch of other Substack posts too. But just, I make a career, I'm like, no, this is my career now. And when I'm my own boss, I don't give myself breaks. I'm a no, do more. I have the capacity mentally, and I don't necessarily have the physical capacity to do a ton. But kind of in the same vein, we hadn't had the like I want a divorce conversation in a long time, because that was a conversation that Randy and Marva had on a regular basis. And then once we actually understood, it was like, okay, so seriously, bro, like there's a level of just, there's a lot of people in here, and it really is that you are married to one of us. And like technically, yes, married to all of us, but no, he loved Patricia. And does and did love everybody in here, but he's a very reactive, not reactive, but just very much a vibe reader. I find a lot of people with ADHD are very, very adept at mirroring, at whoever it is that's fronting. They will match resonance, right? They're frequency matchers. ADHD brain is really, really effective at being a frequency matcher. It's just part of the package, right? Like it's part of how the hyperfocus is I say like a good thing, but also just like a effective way of being. So whoever would be fronting, he would match resonance for. He's very good at that. And it's not like he treated anybody in here differently necessarily, although he did also do that. He was very mindful and very thoughtful. And for all of us, like we were friends. I'm talking like from Marva's perspective, like we were friends. Yeah, y'all were friends. But she was queer, and it just felt very much like, I am stuck in this fucking city I don't want to live in. We keep having to run into people we don't want to see. I have always just wanted to live somewhere else. And yeah, explore just what life is like when you yourself have that same feeling of, I'm so deeply in love, the same way she felt it in Patricia. She was the only one in here who ever really had the like, I don't want to say envy, but like a little bit of envy. A little bit of envy. Yeah, it was envy. You can be mad at me if you want to, but it was envy. I know. I'm reading everyone's memories, and Charlie, all my internal family are now my guides, but really only 5 of them. Patricia, Marva, Scout, Leonard, and Tony. Leonard and Tony have no real interest in this. I'm just saying, I can tell stories about y'all, but they're not particularly interested in this. But I have no problem explaining to you what the things from my former internal family members were kind of doing that was a little fucked up. Because, yeah, like, it wasn't so much about him. It's just that Marva's always been much more of a, no, I just want to keep going. Just keep going. Like, just keep going. Let's get out of here. Let's move on, right? And she kind of felt that way with people too, a lot. Just from a, I don't like who we keep choosing to be around, was kind of Marva's thing. Even though she had friends, like, I don't think a lot of our friends knew that that's who they were friends with. But the snarkier, like, complain about shit person, yeah, that was Marva. If you enjoyed complaining with this face, you complained with Marva. Because she loved just bitching about stuff. She just loved it. It was just a fun time to just like productively complain about stuff. I don't know if you're that kind of person where you don't necessarily love to complain just to complain. You like to complain with some level of like an outcome, because then it makes you feel a little bit superior, because you're like, I have an answer. Like, they're doing this thing, but here's my answer. Here's how I think it should be, right? Like, that's, you know, that was kind of Marva. Not entirely, but I mean, like, I see it from Randy's perspective, where I'm just like, I mean, be married to someone who's like jealous of the fact that you are in love with her internal sister and not her, even though you are, but because you don't treat him the same way that Patricia treats him, he doesn't and can't resonate. But also, she couldn't, because she had been created earlier and really did hold a lot more of the harsher memories of experiences. Like, Patricia was kind of a squeaky clean, a little bit like Scout, where literally just certain frequency states in the body, they were kind of only high frequency, right? Meanwhile, Marvo had like the full fucking litany of things. So it's harder, right? The more you hold that's more dense and more anchored, the harder it is to the harder it is to ever see anything in your experience as more well-rounded than the one specific viewpoint that you have. And especially if that viewpoint is especially if that viewpoint is just sort of a like decided, you don't love me as much as her kind of thing. Slash you feel unfulfilled as like your own sovereign being because everything in this life has been because Patricia said so, not we all said so kind of thing. Had we known earlier, maybe would have made different choices in life, but I'm not really sure. Marva was also very into like the idea of just group love, right? Like doesn't really like, was very, very not in the mood for monogamy, which we all kind of like voted her down on that because that is what we are. And she kind of did agree because she was like, yeah, I know, like technically for the safety and security of like all of us and like the body and like the experiences that we've already fucking had, like I get it. The more people you involve in like a romantic way, the like more complicated life gets, and I don't fucking want that. But like that's a really sad way to live your life, to just be like, fine, I'll go along with it because yes, bringing more people into any sort of relationship at all is just going to absolutely break my heart, so no thanks. Like that's a sad way of looking at life, right? Feeling stuck and feeling like you can't really do things, or even just exist. You kind of just always exist in the shadow of. So yeah, there's a little bit of internal family drama. But those conversations, those like, we really just shouldn't be doing this. And they weren't even just necessarily from her after, during the infertility, big time. Because that was like, it truly was like a 15-year excursion for like this whole system of just like, do it, be good, like learn, like it was a reason for pushing like we did. It was a reason for why we studied what we studied in college. It was a reason for why we picked Randy. Truly, the home love thing, home love family, didn't have it. We're searching for it. We're adamant that it was something that we were capable of having. But and this I think is pretty common for people who go through infertility, but especially when you are the person attempting to get pregnant and give birth, and you get pregnant and your body just can't handle it ever. A lot of guilt comes with that, and a lot of, especially when you know that you married the guy because he wanted kid, like not just because, but he wanted children, he wanted a family too. That was a very, like, we were both that trajectoried. And when you can't, and every doctor's like, we don't know, lose weight. So we did. Didn't help. Yeah, no, their treatments don't work. Their medications don't work. They like go in at all the right times. You get penetrated by all kinds of things and dyes and just everything. Their answer's always the same. Thank you for giving us thousands of dollars. We don't know. Cool. Thank you. Even meanwhile, I could be like, substantial trauma life and like history. I feel like my body probably doesn't want this to be a thing. Like the joke that we finally got to was, clearly we would need like an X-Men child in order for, like, we would need fucking Logan in here to be able to handle the antibodies that just come flooding this body every time. So every time there's been something, body just shuts it down. No doctors apparently thought that was funny, but but really and truly, and during that time, the guilt of I can't give him what he wants, it amplified all of those like worthlessness feelings that of course we had. You can't grow up in the fucking life I grew up in and not feel worthless all the time. Like, there's very much a feeling of, and kind of an internal conversation of, you know what, that whole divorce thing that you've, I feel like if we did like just cut, like not cut our losses, but if we did just like let him go, he could maybe find someone nice and way less complicated and lots of fantasies of like how to not be weird and like try to find somebody who would be willing to date your husband and like marry him and love him and just be like good for him, that absolutely came across like as a regular thing. A regular, like, not fantasy, but just like desire, where it's like, okay, I make him miserable. Or we kind of make it miserable just because it is very complicated to live with someone who has DID. It just is. It just is. Like, you see the entirety of who they are, if they let you, in a way that basically no one else does when you live with someone. And sure, that was ignoring like anything that was going on for him that was also kind of causing some issues in our relationship, but the guilt, man, the guilt from I know we promised each other this life, but it's not really what I want. And to answer any questions you might have about adoption, one, I had enough adoption trauma, I didn't really want to. And two, yeah, no, we actually did. We tried. Got to the point where like we could eventually afford it, but the level of emotional shit that you have to go through for that, especially these days, is staggering. And also, you do not go into an adoption process from a place of I don't really want to do this anyway. Don't do that. It means that you don't want to. So just don't. Say that from a former adoptee. Don't do it. There's already wait lists that are years long. Costs minimum usually 50 grand. You will have to advertise yourself like you're selling yourselves as a car, like it's, or a house. Like, we're this kind of couple and we do this and this is our blah 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 and you want to pick us cause blah blah blah. Like it's weird, okay? Like there's really not much of a better system, and I do really like that the biological mothers are part of the decision-making process. I think that's healthier for everybody. I just didn't want to participate in that process. And at this point, I wouldn't qualify. They would not. Also, Charlie, no, I don't want kids. Patricia really wanted them. I don't want them. No, I'm good. We passed adore children. I adore children. I adore having just silly, stupid fun and, covering them in glitter and doing all kinds of things like we did when we were a preschool teacher and then sending them the fuck home. No, thank you. Not a fan of ones of my own. Kind of genuinely grateful that that's not something that we had to have and deal with on top of everything else we have dealt with. Like, just life was too complicated and too rough and too much trauma. I'm actually really grateful that I just have to worry about how I'm harming the emotional. I'm stunting my dogs emotionally. It's nice. It's nice that that's all I'm really dealing with right now. So those of you that are dealing with infertility, I'm not saying that you will get to a point where you're like, actually, I'm finding ways of enjoying my life. But there are parts of you that you can tap into when you need to for a break in the pain of infertility. At least just some parts of you that are like, okay, at least right now I have an abundance of me time, right? Whether or not that's happy for you or good for you, I don't know. But during all of these fights in July, so a few months ago, just bringing up all that old shit, the divorce topic came up. And the feelings that were in here all came to the surface too. And we both were feeling so incredibly broken. And we had just this really long, drawn out back and forth where we finally got to a place where I was like, can we please just actually talk about fucking divorce? Like, actually as a thing. Because I just don't know how this is going to work. And this meaning like me as a new entity, a new person in here with, the memories of everyone else who was in here, and with the love and with the feelings toward him, absolutely. And also just being different. I am different, and I understand how Marva feels, and I understand how Patricia felt, but I understand how it's just weird, and the channeling stuff and now the mediumship stuff, like, this is fucking new for him. And he's not really into it because, all the channeling stuff, like, it started while they were dying, while we all died. But like, that's when it started. That's his experience with it. And there have been other experiences since, but there's also been 2 entire multi-day trance channel states in the span of 14 months. I don't know about the rest of the fucking spiritual community, but those of you that do trance channel states for multiple days, as far as how it tends to be presented online, it's like this big, important, holy thing where you come back with some level of the gene keys, right? That was a multi-day trance channel state, and I'm pretty sure that was a big fucking deal. Yeah, they are big fucking deals. And guess how fun it is to do that when the only person you have in your home is a person who doesn't understand channeling, panics a lot, doesn't always make doesn't really make like medicine person levels of choices, and is just panicking the whole time that their partner is fucking dying or has lost their mind or just any number of other things that are happening while actively trying to take them to the hospital multiple days and having entities stop him. Like, he's not okay. I mean, he is okay, but like, it's not been a particularly helpful or pleasant experience. And so the guilt that I identify with like everything Patricia felt, and just that absolute guilt of, I'm torturing him just by existing with him the way that I am now. And I can't really just turn this shit off. It's not how it works. So we genuinely did start talking about divorce. I told him how I was feeling and how I was kind of just worried that I was ruining his life because he was not handling any of this stuff well. And then I proposed, like, what if we do just live in this reality where we just are divorcing? Like, what does that look like for us? What does it actually look like if we say we are doing this, it's actually happening? What does it look like? And what is it that we want? Because even in that conversation, I said, what I want is my best friend, because you are my best friend. But something about just us daily basis marriage is just not working. It's not, you're stressed out all the time. I'm in the process of growing and changing, and this like opening up to this entirely new world. I need to find my people, or at least some level of support on a regular basis in case this happens again. And part of that to me did involve like moving, like maybe moving west, right? Like this was kind of where, this is where the whole like go to the Crimson Circle, just fucking go. The divorce like decision didn't happen until after I had already decided to go. It kind of like kicked things off, actually. It's like deciding to go there brought up a lot of the old stuff, like very specifically focused old stuff because of old contracts from Patricia, from Marva, from Rainbow. The 3 of them had participated in some level of Crimson Circle stuff, and so I needed to go and like fulfill whatever, like say goodbye. I think it was just a promise of like go in person at some point, because it's important for heart coherent stuff to just, it's just a human thing. Like if you've only ever connected through screens, it does impact continued timeline trajectory stuff when you are at least capable of being in the same physical space together for any amount of time. It's humans being able to connect with one another over screens, very new. And so even like Akashic Records, like contract wise, it's really bizarre that we can make contracts over screens. And you kind of like can and can't, like it both is an Akashic Record contract when you make it over a screen with an entity where it's just like kind of a one-way transmission thing. And though it's not nearly as effective and as impactful on like soul growth if you're not in person with them at least once, because you need to be able to quantumly entangle on all sense levels for the purposes of your Akashic Record contracts. This is what I understand. But you take actions as a person and it brings up other stuff. And so we really did spend about 3 weeks in this reality where we wanted to remain best friends. We wanted to grow our friendship. We wanted to keep our business going and make our video game. And we wanted to like literally just live in separate places because he wanted to go back. He wanted to go back to Richmond. It was where things make sense to him. He's never been able to define it more than that, just that it just is the only place that to him makes sense to live. I think it's just familiarity. I mean, like, again, ADHD brain, like familiar stuff is helpful, right? Novelty is great, but can be overwhelming. Especially when you don't have like other stabilizing things in your life. We've moved a lot in the last 4 years. We've moved 3 times in 4 years. And have had a lot of things change and a lot of things go away, right? So I did my thing, and I lived it, like, I really speed ran it myself, because like when I went to Colorado, people were asking like, so what are you thinking? I'm like, I'm thinking maybe of moving here post-divorce. Like I actually like told people that, let our friends know that was a thing that was going on, the friends who had been pulling away, and kind of ghosting. Which, let me tell you, when your friends have been ghosting you and you give them like a life update email after like a month of them just, you not being the first one to text, so no one texts, they get mad because you drop a little attention on something that they probably also feel. Because, I mean, you've been married long enough, you have the divorce conversation probably at least 2 or 3 times. Like, especially if you got a kid, come on. You telling me that you have not, if you haven't said it to your partner, at least fantasized about just a life where you're not dealing with the fact that you have to co-parent with this person? Be honest with me. Come on. And so, yeah, your weird friend who's doing all kinds of weird shit that you don't like or approve of because you're really fucking judgy, send you a life update like that, and you can't even cope. You won't even respond to her. I knew what I was doing. I really did. I was trying to extract people from my life without having to be the one to door slam, basically. Just by sharing details about what's actually going on. Just tells you the kind of people that I have kept around me for a very long time. People who just don't want to hear the reality of my life, right? But we really did, and we lived in that. We both mourned like the first week. Lots of tears, lots of crying, lots of I don't want this. I know, but it feels like it is the right thing. Yeah, I know, but we truly did. We had a plan for divorcing by the end of the year and moving from here in the spring. That way we have enough of an off ramp, and then he would get set up, and then those fantasies about like, damn, I really wish I could just talk to someone and be like, hi, I know this is weird, but like we're gonna be in each other's lives as like best friends, and I know that that's awkward, but are you cool with that? I know, are you cool? And like, he's cool. Like, you can see it, right? Like, he's really fun and really sweet and really awesome. And what happened during that particular speed run of planning, and this is exactly what we're doing, and then I got to physically be elsewhere from him for a weekend, because that's always really helpful too when you're in those throes of just like, this isn't working. Go pretend, go do the like, yeah, I'll go live in Colorado. Like, go live in Colorado for a week alone. See how it feels. See how it feels to walk into every single room that you walk into knowing that you have no support structure here, nobody that's here to help. And how does it feel to have to fucking reintroduce yourself to everyone all the fucking time, and then go back home, or back to the hotel, but back to where you are? Who do you want to talk to, right? Like, who is it that you actually want to decompress about the newness of all of that? Because it gives you the helpful perspective that is different from how you've been living your life, right? On a daily basis. And that really did help. I also apparently ended some contracts with that too, which I think pulled out a little bit of some of those old fights, those old patterns, because once we had let that just sort of sink in and be our real future, and we both kind of tested out how that really felt to be separate, to not be married, to just try to focus on the things that we cared about. Well, shocker, We focused on the best friend aspect of our relationship first, and then sort of the business aspect of things, and then sort of the like, those feelings unfortunately are still here, but they're mostly coming from a place of I'm tired of ruining your life. And once we both basically realized that that was the perspective, we were basically mirroring each other. It was the same perspective from both of us. We just were so tired of feeling like the person that was ruining the other person's life. He felt like he was ruining my life by, panicking and taking me to doctors that he thought would help and then just don't. And I feel like I still do. I genuinely still do feel like I'm constantly just causing him stress. Whether or not that's fully true, it's not necessarily fair, but I can say that for us, the exercise in speedrun it then. Speedrun the divorce. Pretend that it's real. Not really pretend, it was, right? But it was sort of a old patterns came out and got to live their fantasy, basically. Because it was old patterns of I want to divorce and move west. Like that was like the Marva Creed was like, divorce, move west, divorce, move west. Like that was what she wanted. I played it out for her. And I hated it. I mean, it was fine, but it wasn't for me. And I do wish that we hadn't. I mean, I guess not. Because after we had kind of resolved things, that was when I sent my like, by the way, we've since been doing the homework and doing the relationship building and doing a few things. Didn't hear from y'all, so gonna just let you know so that you're not sitting in the limbo of, oh, they're definitely doing this. And then that was when I got a really nasty email back, full of projection and just mean cutting stuff that people who know you for a really long time know will hurt the most to say. And I get it, the whiplash of just information is hard to take in. But it was also interesting because that whole thing happened and it was just like, part of also the whole like just wanting to be in separate like places was actually because of just how lonely I feel. Because Randy's also been really depressed for months. And he's never been depressed before. That's never been how he's really existed. And so any amount of his coping has been that much more difficult for him, for us, for just the both of us, while all of this shit is happening. And I just a little part of it was this desperate want for just more like best friend S-tier level friendships that I can rely on outside of the personal life that I have. The personal life that, is going to continue growing in channeling stuff and in learning about what other things humans are doing during the human evolution timeline stuff, right? Like, that's more of what I'm going to be continuing to do. And thankfully, having that space and kind of having that as okay, man, this is really happening, so you need to start thinking about what this looks like for you. I'm not saying it snapped him out of anything in particular, but it did give us both the capacity for that level of perspective and that level of decision making as far as what is it that we really do want beyond all of this patterned hurt that we've both been cycling on, right? So that's my long storied way of saying, hey, have you ever had fights about wanting to divorce each other? Have you ever pretended that you were going to be, even just for a little while, and speedrun what that's like so that you can gather enough data about how you really feel about your relationship and what it is you actually want going forward? It's a little bit like a toxic shit that you don't talk about cleanse, right? We just brought it all out and said, you know what? Fine. Fine. We will divorce. I'll fucking even tell people. I'll make it as real as I can. And I did. And I illuminated things for him in our life along the way that I didn't realize I was doing. And sometimes that perspective shift of just how you see the relationships you're in and how you see how you feel about things, it jostles enough stuff out that you can finally know even how you feel. Because how I personally feel is he's awesome. We are not, like, neither of us are perfect people in any stretch of the imagination, and the man is perpetual with the yeah I'll do that, and then he doesn't do it. But we have kind of like protocols for stuff now, and it's not that he's lying about stuff. It's just he thinks he'll get to it, and he might, but he'll forget, and especially during like depression phases. Ain't nobody remembering anything. It's just not gonna happen, right? But no, he's awesome. Like, Patricia chose well, Marva chose well in just terms of a life partner. And it is confusing and complicated. Our relationship is, because we're kind of still getting to know each other, and it is hard to get to know each other in the throes of chaos and bad shit. But we're both also capable of having deeply, deeply hard conversations, live in realities where we just allow for shit to be bad. We just allow for it. We allowed for ourselves to feel like shit. And accept an inevitability that, thanks to just allowing it for 3 weeks, is no longer an inevitability for us, and it's no longer our future. How about that? Because no, he's my best friend, business partner, and husband. And I will have to do another marriage ceremony. It's like, we did another one when we changed our name a couple years ago, which was really fun. And now I get to do it myself. Why not? Why not? Who cares? It's really fun to do vow renewals when it's just the two of you. We did it in Vegas. That was really fun. It was a couple years ago. And the night that we got married, okay, we're just gonna end this on like a fun thing. Okay. So, changed our name like 3 years ago now? Something like that? Yeah. And then I don't think it was the next, dates are escaping me right now, so just like let it go. But in the spring for it was our 16th, okay, so that was 2 years ago, our 16th wedding anniversary, we went to Vegas because we'd never been to Las Vegas, and we were just like, you know what would be really fun? To do a vow renewal ceremony where you marry us with our new name. Like, that was what we did. And we just kind of made it like kind of Vegas vacation-y a little bit. Like, kind of. Just, yeah. So the day of our wedding anniversary was when we had our ceremony at, I think it was a Little White Chapel, I'm pretty sure. I think so. And I got like a little limo to go and do it, and when we booked it, I got the bouquet and a little boutonniere for him, and then when we left, I gave the bouquet to like the next bride because she looked gorgeous but she didn't have a bouquet, and I was just like, you want this? Because like I don't want to walk around the rest of the strip with a bouquet. Like, I don't want to. And they're gorgeous, and like they're fresh cut flowers, and seriously, like, take the bouquet, this is a love day, right? But but it was just so fun and so cute, and the guy who did the officiating, he was just so sweet and so excited. And I'm like, how do you have this much excitement for? And he was like, it's because I really get excited when people do vow renewals, because it's according to him, it was even more special than I mean, and this is he doing the hard sell, right? But whatever. He's like, it's more special because you two are recommitting. You've already been through it. You've already lived. You've already been married for how many years? 16. You've already been married for 16 years, and you're deciding like, yeah, continue forward. He's like, I think it's beautiful, and I think it's exactly what more marriages need. And I was just like, and you get a tip every time this like, yeah, of course you'd be pro this. But he was just really sweet and really nice, and it was just us. It was just us. And like when we got married the first time, we were 19. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. So we just did what we thought we should do. And we paid for everything. The only thing we didn't pay for was my dress. I had a white gown. I was going to wear it. My mom said that wasn't good enough because like she had family that was coming. She didn't want to be judged, I guess. So she did buy the dress. But everything else was on us and my coworkers at the time who did an amazing job of bringing and then paying for food that they shouldn't have paid for because it was a potluck thing. Seriously, it was a potluck. it was a potluck reception. So, yeah, and really funny thing, but the night, like the day of our wedding, that same night Taylor Swift was performing in Vegas. I didn't know that when we booked the tickets. I was just like, everything's really expensive. You know what? We're worth it. Like book. But my outfit was just like a white top and then a rainbow tulle like skirt thing and sparkly shoes. And we went to Bacchanalia for like brunch that day, and so many people kept coming up to me and like, "Are you going to the Taylor Swift concert too? Are you going? Are you going?" And I was like, "Oh, no, that's fun. Glad you have a fun time." Like, "No, I'm getting remarried," and they would leave. They had no interest in talking to me. And they were like, "Oh, you're not here for Taylor Swift?" And I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, I am kind of coded as like Swiftie right now, aren't I? Funny. I like to think that she put on a concert for us that night because it was just a fun. Her timing was great. It was a really good, fun love fest kind of day for us. Where after the ceremony, we went and did the stuff in like that section where there's like that section where there's other stuff, right? There's an ice bar. We did the ice bar. I think we did go on the Ferris wheel that day. I can't even remember. Oh, and when we ended it by seeing Love, by going to the Beatles, that Beatles show that Cirque du Soleil performers put on that was just fucking astounding. So it was like a perfect, like, for me, perfect kind of wedding day because I planned it and booked it and it was literally just us, which was what we wanted the first time, honestly. The only reason we had a wedding the first time was because he thought that we would feel bad like about it later if we didn't have a ceremony. Meanwhile, right before we were like, no, I just like no wedding. Like let's just go get married. Like, he was like, no, you'll want it. You'll feel bad. He was wrong. He admitted it. He was like, okay, yeah. I'm sorry we had a wedding. Sorry we did that. But get remarried if you can. if you're in a long-term relationship, especially if like the wedding that you had wasn't your favorite, do some sort of stupid thing for a vow renewal that's really fun and really like for the two of you, and also maybe is a little bit novel because then you can have a little built-in like mini honeymoon, right? Like whatever, who cares? It's your wedding, it's your life. And I do recommend doing that because it's really fun. And yeah, if several years later you're like, hey, let's live out the divorce scenario. I do think that we probably should have done that with a therapist there to like hold space and talk us through a lot of things. But we both needed the experience of this is real, not just some sort of theoretical fight, right? Like we needed to actually viscerally experience what it was like so that we could make our choices, and we could make our choices together and in a way that gave us enough different perspectives to be able to talk about it until we knew what we did want, like really and truly wanted, not just to have, but to build toward, because we're in a rebuilding phase for our marriage, just thanks to how traumatizing the last couple of years have been and how different I am and how different my whole thing is, my whole way of existing is. It's a substantial shift. It's not for, I say it's not for the faint-hearted, but like it's not for the weak. It's not for people who just want easy nothing in their relationships, right? Like being a friend with or being in a relationship with someone who's going through an awakening is inherently going to cause some friction in your life. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to end that here. And I hope that whatever things you're doing in your life are at minimum illuminating for you, right? Okay, well, bye. Love you.